The cascading blue holographic displays illuminated the dimly lit monitoring chamber, casting an ethereal glow across rows of workstations. Senior observer Hiram sat at his post, his eyes fixed on the stream of data flowing across his screen. For decades, the Galactic Monitoring Station had recorded every transmission from Earth, from their primitive radio signals to their increasingly sophisticated digital broadcasts. The constant chatter of human civilization had become a comforting background noise to the observers who studied them. But something was wrong. Hiram blinked hard and refreshed his display, certain he was seeing a malfunction. The steady stream of signals had completely vanished. He quickly ran a diagnostic on his equipment, but everything showed as functioning normally. With growing concern, he accessed backup monitoring systems and alternative detection arrays. Each check confirmed the same impossible reality. Earth had gone silent. Director Jai-Ho. He called out, unable to keep the tremor from his voice. Please, you need to see this immediately. The director looked up from her workstation, noting the unusual urgency in Hiram's typically calm demeanor. She crossed the monitoring chamber in long strides, her steel-gray hair catching the blue light of the displays. Other observers turned to watch as she reached Hiram's station, leaning over his shoulder to study the readings. "Show me the signal loss progression," she ordered, her face betraying no emotion. Hiram's fingers flew across the holographic controls, bringing up a time-lapse visualization. It happened over the course of just 3 minutes. First, the high-band frequencies dropped out, then the mid-range, and finally the low-frequency transmissions. Now there's nothing. Complete electromagnetic silence. Director Jai-Ho straightened, her mind racing through the implications. In all recorded history, no civilization had ever gone dark so suddenly and completely. Even planetary disasters left traces of electromagnetic activity. This was different. This was intentional. "Get me a visual feed," she commanded. "I want to see what's happening on the surface." The main display wall shifted to show real-time images of Earth's major cities. The planet appeared normal, lights still glowed, vehicles still moved, aircraft still crossed the skies. But they were doing it all in complete silence, without emitting a single detectable signal. "Run a full spectrum analysis," Jai-Ho ordered. "Check for any form of transmission we might be missing. Gravitational waves, neutrino pulses, anything." The results came back negative. Whatever the humans were doing, they had somehow managed to completely mask their technological footprint. It was unprecedented and deeply troubling. "Alert the Council," Jai-Ho said, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation, "and begin emergency protocols for possible first contact scenarios. Something fundamental has changed down there." Within hours, the vast chambers of the Galactic Council hummed with tension as representatives from the 100 most advanced civilizations gathered. The tier-like seating arranged in a perfect circle was filled with beings of all forms, some humanoid, others wildly different in appearance. Their universal translators worked overtime as worried discussions broke out in countless languages. Observer Ta-1, the station's leading Earth specialist, stood at the center of the chamber. His holographic presentation showed the abrupt cessation of signals in stark detail. The data was irrefutable. A developing civilization had essentially vanished from the electromagnetic spectrum overnight. "As you can see," Ta-1 explained, his voice echoing through the chamber, "Earth's technological signature didn't gradually fade or collapse. It simply stopped. Our analysis suggests this was a coordinated, planet-wide event." The chamber erupted in chaos as the implications sank in. Representatives shouted questions and demands, while others sat in stunned silence. A civilization advancing enough to mask its entire technological footprint in such a short time was unprecedented and potentially dangerous. "Could this be preparation for aggressive expansion?" called out one representative. "Perhaps they detected our monitoring and are attempting to hide," suggested another. The High Counselor, a being of swirling energy contained within a crystalline matrix, raised their communication appendage for silence. When they spoke, their words carried the weight of millennia of experience. In all our history of observing developing civilizations, none has ever demonstrated such a dramatic technological leap without warning. The humans have always shown remarkable adaptability and innovative thinking, but this suggests they have discovered something that changes everything we thought we knew about technological progression. The chamber grew quiet as the implications of those words sank in. Humanity had been considered a young, developing species, interesting to study, but not yet ready for contact. That assumption now seemed dangerously naive. As the council debated their response, none of them noticed the small quantum fluctuations beginning to appear in the space around Earth, the first sign that humanity's silence was merely the prelude to something far more extraordinary. The sleek observation vessels slipped through the dark space between Mars and Jupiter, their advanced cloaking systems rendering them invisible to any conventional detection methods. Commander Duha stood on the bridge of the flagship, Silent Watcher, his hands clasped behind his back as he studied the growing blue marble of Earth through the main viewport. 3 months had passed since Earth's unprecedented communications blackout, and the Galactic Council had finally authorized a closer investigation. Duha's fleet represented the finest stealth technology in known space, ships designed to observe without being observed. Even so, an unsettling feeling crept through his mind as they approached Earth. Something about this situation felt different from any previous mission. "All ships report ready for final approach," announced his tactical officer. "Stealth systems operating at maximum efficiency." Duha nodded, his expression grave. "Begin synchronized orbital insertion. Maintain absolute emission control. We don't know what detection capabilities they might have developed." The fleet split into predetermined groups, each taking up strategic positions around Earth. Some positioned themselves over major population centers, while others focused on military installations and industrial complexes. The crews worked in near total silence, their ships running on minimal power to maintain their cloak. Science Officer Yunji's voice broke the tense quiet on the bridge. "Commander, preliminary scans are complete. I don't understand what I'm seeing." Duha moved to her station, studying the complex data streams flowing across her displays. "Report your findings, officer." "Life signs are completely normal," she began, her fingers dancing across the controls to highlight different readings. "Cities are functioning at typical capacity. We're tracking normal movement patterns of vehicles, aircraft, and ships. But," she paused, double-checking her instruments. "But what?" Duha prompted, noting the confusion in her voice. "There's no electromagnetic signature. None. Not from their vehicles, not from their power plants, not from their communication systems. It's as if they're operating on something completely different." Yunji's voice held a note of professional frustration. Even their most basic technologies should be producing some form of electromagnetic emission. But there's nothing. Duha leaned closer to the display, his brow furrowed. "Show me visual feeds from the surface." The main screen filled with high-resolution images of Earth's major cities. At first glance, everything appeared normal: streets filled with moving vehicles, buildings lit up against the night sky, aircraft crossing between destinations. But as they watched, subtle differences became apparent. "Focus on that structure," Duha ordered, pointing to a strange tower rising from the center of a city. The image zoomed in, revealing a crystalline construction unlike anything in their records. Similar towers could be seen in other cities, their surfaces seeming to shift and shimmer in ways that defied normal physics. "Scan those towers," he commanded. "What are we looking at?" Hyunji ran every analysis their systems could manage, but the results were baffling. The structures appeared to be made of some kind of crystalline matrix we've never encountered before. They're doing something, but I can't determine what. Our instruments can't make sense of the energy patterns." More disturbing observations followed. Human vehicles moved without any visible means of propulsion. Their aircraft flew without producing heat signatures or sonic disturbances. Even their ocean vessels sliced through the waves without leaving the expected electromagnetic traces of powerful engines. Send a probe closer to one of their power facilities, Duha ordered, needing more detailed readings. The tiny probe, no larger than a grain of sand, drifted down through the atmosphere. As it approached its target, something unexpected happened. It simply stopped transmitting. No malfunction warning, no sign of detection or interference. It was as if it had ceased to exist. Launch a second probe, Duha commanded, his voice tense. Full diagnostic telemetry this time. The second probe's data stream told an impossible story. As it approached Earth's surface, it encountered what could only be described as a different set of physical laws. Space itself seemed to operate differently within the sphere of human influence. "Commander," Yunjai called out, her voice barely above a whisper. "I've been comparing visual scans from our historical records. These changes, the towers, the new transportation systems, they appeared virtually overnight. No construction period, no testing phase. They simply manifested." Duha felt a chill run down his spine. In all his years of observation duty, he had never encountered anything like this. The humans hadn't just developed new technology. They had somehow fundamentally altered the way they interacted with reality itself. "Prepare a full report for the Council," he ordered, knowing they wouldn't like what he had to tell them. "And maintain absolute surveillance distance. Whatever the humans have discovered, we can't risk them detecting our presence until we understand what we're dealing with." As he spoke, another crystalline tower began to rise from the heart of a city below, assembling itself from nothing in defiance of everything they thought they knew about physics and engineering. Humanity had not just gone quiet. They had evolved into something entirely new, and the galaxy would never be the same. The emergency session of the Galactic Council buzzed with nervous energy as thousands of representatives filled the vast chamber. The normally orderly proceedings had given way to worried whispers and heated debates. 3 cycles of investigation had yielded more questions than answers about Earth's sudden transformation. Science analyst Minki stood before his workstation, reviewing his findings one final time. His hands trembled slightly as he organized his data streams. What he had discovered would change everything they thought they knew about physics and the nature of reality itself. The council chamber's master AI announced his turn to present. Minki took a deep breath and stepped onto the central platform. The massive holographic displays came to life around him, showing complex quantum mechanics formulae and observation data from Earth. "Honorable Council," he began, his voice barely above a whisper, fighting to keep his composure. "They've done it. The humans have achieved what we thought impossible. They've mastered quantum entanglement communication on a massive scale." The chamber fell into stunned silence. Several of the more scientifically minded counselors leaned forward in their seats, their various sensory organs focused intently on Minki's presentation. Counselor Yuni, her crystalline form pulsing with disbelief, broke the silence. "How?" she demanded. "Our civilizations have tried for millennia to stabilize quantum entanglement beyond microsecond durations. It's theoretically impossible." Minki brought up a new set of displays, showing the strange crystalline towers that had appeared across Earth's surface. "They approached the problem differently," he explained. "While we tried to force quantum particles to maintain entanglement through increasingly complex containment systems, they found a way to create stable quantum networks using crystalline matrices. It's elegant in its simplicity." The displays shifted to show detailed scans of the human's quantum crystal technology. Instead of fighting against quantum decoherence, they embraced it. These crystalline structures don't just contain entangled particles. They actively generate and maintain quantum states in a self-sustaining network. A senior physicist from the Centauri systems rose to object. "But the energy requirements would be astronomical. The computational complexity alone would." "That's just it," Minki interrupted, bringing up new data streams. "They've somehow created a system that requires minimal energy input. The crystals themselves act as both power source and computational matrix. It's as if they've discovered a way to tap into the quantum fabric of space-time itself. The implications began to sink in across the chamber. Humanity hadn't just developed a new form of communication. They had fundamentally altered their relationship with physics itself. The towers we've observed, Min-Ki continued, aren't just communication nodes. They're gateways into what the humans appear to be calling the quantum layer, a parallel space where normal physics don't apply. They're not just sending signals through this layer, they're beginning to manipulate it. He brought up footage of human vehicles, seemingly phasing in and out of normal space. This explains the lack of electromagnetic emissions. Their technology no longer operates in conventional spacetime. They've moved beyond the need for traditional physics altogether. The chamber erupted in worried discussions. A civilization mastering such technology would have unprecedented advantages in everything from communication to transportation to warfare. There's more, Min-Ki said, his voice cutting through the chaos. Our analysis suggests this is just the beginning. The quantum network is growing, evolving. The humans appear to be using it to enhance their cognitive capabilities. They're not just building a new technology, they're creating a new form of existence. Counselor Yoon-hee's crystalline form dimmed slightly. How long until they achieve full quantum integration? Min-Ki's hand stopped trembling as he delivered the most shocking part of his report. They already have. The silence we detected 3 months ago wasn't the beginning of their transformation, it was the end. What we're seeing now is a civilization that has completely transcended conventional physical limitations. The implications were staggering. Humanity had not only solved problems that had stumped the galaxy's finest minds for millennia, they had completely reimagined the nature of reality itself. We have to decide now, Min-Ki concluded, how we're going to respond. Because I'm certain of one thing, they already know we're here. They've probably known all along, and they're waiting to see what we'll do next. As if to emphasize his point, the quantum fluctuations around Earth intensified, visible even from the Council Chamber's long-range sensors. Humanity was ready to reveal itself to the galaxy, but on its own terms and in its own way. The time had come for the galaxy to face a new reality, one where humanity had quietly become the most advanced civilization known to exist. The massive viewscreen aboard the flagship Eternal Vigilance displayed dozens of incoming reports from across the galaxy. Admiral Song-min stood with his hands clasped behind his back, his weathered face illuminated by the constant stream of data. After 4 decades of military service, he had thought nothing could surprise him anymore. He had been wrong. The first appearance had occurred near the Proxima Centauri colony. A human vessel, sleek and crystalline, had simply materialized in orbit. No warning, no energy signature, no disturbance in spacetime. One moment empty space, the next, a ship larger than anything in the combined fleet's arsenal. Before anyone could react, it had vanished again, leaving behind only recorded images and thousands of frightened colonists. That had been just the beginning. Admiral, called out his aide Jin'e, her voice tense as she processed new information. Another report from the Centauri sector. A human diplomatic vessel has materialized near their capital world. No prior detection, no quantum wake, nothing. It's just there. Song-min nodded silently, watching as the report was added to the growing list. In the past week alone, human ships had been spotted in 30 different star systems. They appeared without warning, defying every known law of physics and space travel. The most advanced tracking systems in the galaxy couldn't detect their approach or predict their movements. "Show me the Centauri footage," he ordered, moving closer to the main display. The screen shifted to show a human vessel hanging in space above the Centauri homeworld. Unlike the aggressive, angular designs of most spacefaring races, this ship was almost organic in appearance. Its crystalline surface seemed to ripple and flow, as if the boundary between solid matter and space itself was somehow negotiable. "Magnification on the hull structure," Song-min commanded. The image zoomed in, revealing patterns that seemed to shift and change even as they watched. "Are we recording any energy emissions?" Any sign of conventional propulsion systems? Nothing, sir, Jin A replied, checking her instruments. According to our sensors, the ship shouldn't even be able to maintain structural integrity. It's as if it's operating under completely different physical laws. Song Min felt a chill run down his spine. In all his years of service, he had seen countless advances in technology. But this was different. Humanity hadn't just developed better ships, they had somehow transcended the need for traditional space travel altogether. "Play back the emergence recording," he ordered. The screen showed empty space, then in a fraction of a second, the human vessel was simply there. No distortion, no energy surge, no ripple in space-time. It violated everything they knew about the universe. "Sir," Jin A's voice carried a note of concern. "Strategic Command is requesting updated threat assessments. They want to know our defensive capabilities against this technology." Song Min almost laughed at the absurdity of it. How do you defend against an enemy that can appear anywhere, instantly, without warning? How do you fight ships that seem to ignore the fundamental laws of physics? "Tell them." He paused, choosing his words carefully. "Tell them our current defensive systems are not designed to counter this level of technology. We need to completely rethink our approach to space warfare." As if to emphasize his point, another report flashed across the screen. A human vessel had appeared simultaneously in 3 different star systems, thousands of light years apart. Either they had mastered instant duplication of matter, or they were doing something with space and time that defied comprehension. "Additional report from Deep Space Monitoring," Jin A announced. "They've detected what appears to be construction activity in the Orc cloud. The humans are building something big." The Admiral accessed the long-range scans. Massive crystalline structures were taking shape in the outer reaches of the solar system. They seemed to grow organically, like crystal formations, but at impossible speeds and scales. "They're not just exploring," Song Min realized, speaking more to himself than his crew. "They're rebuilding the galaxy to suit their new physics. Every appearance of their ships, every demonstration of their technology. It's not random. They're preparing for something." The implications were staggering. In the span of a few months, humanity had gone from a quarantine-developing civilization to perhaps the most advanced species ever encountered. The balance of power wasn't just shifting. It had already shifted, and the rest of the galaxy was only now beginning to understand how completely. "Sir," Jin A's voice was barely a whisper. "What do we do?" Song Min stared at the displays, watching as more reports of human ships poured in from across the galaxy. "We adapt," he said finally. "Because one thing is clear, the galaxy as we knew it is gone. Whatever comes next will be on humanity's terms, not ours." As if in response to his words, a new signal appeared. A quantum pulse unlike anything they had detected before. The humans were finally ready to talk, and the Admiral had a feeling the conversation would change everything. The Galactic Council chamber hummed with tension as representatives debated their response to humanity's quantum emergence. The massive hall, designed to accommodate beings from thousands of worlds, featured security systems considered impenetrable, a blend of advanced force fields, quantum detection grids, and AI-driven threat assessment protocols. None of that mattered when the humans arrived. There was no warning, no breach alert, no disturbance in the security field. One moment the central platform was empty, the next, a group of humans stood there. The Council's security forces froze, their weapons drawn but useless against beings who seemed to exist partially outside normal space-time. At the center of the human delegation stood Ambassador Su Jin, her simple white dress a stark contrast to the elaborate ceremonial garments worn by other species representatives. She carried no visible technology, no communication devices, yet her presence seemed to resonate with the quantum crystalline structures that had begun appearing across the galaxy. "Greetings," she said, her voice carrying effortlessly through the vast chamber. A warm smile graced her features as she addressed the stunned assembly. "We apologize for our apparent silence. We needed time to prepare." The High Counselor, recovering from the initial shock, activated the emergency containment protocols. Energy fields sprang up around the human delegation, or tried to. The fields simply passed through them, as if they weren't there. "Please," Su Jin said gently, "there's no need for that. We come in peace, though I understand your concern." She gestured, and a holographic display materialized around them, showing Earth's history of detecting and monitoring alien observers. "We've known about you for decades," she explained, as images of concealed observation posts and stealth ships appeared in the air. "Your technology is impressive, but humans have always had a particular talent for noticing when we're being watched." The council chamber remained silent, thousands of representatives trying to process what they were seeing. Some of the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy had spent years carefully observing Earth, believing their presence undetected. They had been wrong. "Your observation helped us. Actually," Su Jin continued, switching the display to show Earth's technological development. "Knowing we weren't alone gave us a goal, a direction. But we knew we couldn't approach space travel the same way you did. We needed something different." The holographic display shifted to show the discovery of quantum crystalline technology. It started as an accident in a small laboratory. A researcher noticed something strange about certain crystal formations under quantum observation. Instead of trying to force quantum particles to behave according to our understanding of physics, we learned to adapt our understanding to their nature. Images showed the rapid development and deployment of quantum technology across Earth. The transition had to be complete and simultaneous, Su Jin explained. Partial implementation would have been detected and potentially disrupted. We needed to surprise you. Several council members shifted uncomfortably at this admission of deliberate deception. Su Jin noticed their reaction and smiled reassuringly. "We mean no harm," she said, "but we needed to ensure our emergence into the galactic community would be on equal terms. Your civilizations have had millennia to develop. We had to take a shortcut." The High Counselor finally found their voice. "You've achieved in months what other species haven't managed in thousands of years. How can we be sure your intentions are peaceful?" Su Jin's response was to gesture again, and suddenly every being in the chamber could feel the quantum network that now surrounded Earth, not through any technological interface, but directly through their consciousness. "Because we want to share this," she said softly. "What we've discovered isn't just new technology. It's a new way of existing, a way to transcend the traditional boundaries between matter, energy, and consciousness itself." The implications slowly dawned on the assembled representatives. Humanity wasn't just offering technological advancement. They were offering evolution. The quantum crystals you've seen appearing throughout the galaxy aren't weapons or tools of conquest, Su Jin explained. They're gateways, invitation points, the beginning of a network that could connect all species in ways we've only dreamed of. She paused, letting her words sink in. "We went quiet not to hide, but to prepare for this moment. Earth is ready to join the galactic community, not as a junior member playing catch-up, but as equals offering something new. The question is, are you ready to join us in what comes next?" The chamber erupted in discussion, but beneath the chaos, there was a sense of wonder. Humanity had changed the rules of the game not through force or conquest, but through innovation and insight. They had seen the universe differently, and in doing so, had transformed it. The age of conventional physics was ending. The quantum age was about to begin. Research Director Hyunwoo stared at the quantum crystal floating in the containment field of his laboratory, its surface shimmering with possibilities that seemed to mock his every attempt at understanding. For the past 3 months, he and his team had worked tirelessly to unravel the secrets of human quantum technology, but each breakthrough only led to more questions. The mathematics behind it all were deceptively simple, so simple that at first he had suspected the humans of hiding the true complexity. But as he watched another failed attempt at crystal formation dissolve into ordinary matter, he began to understand that simplicity itself might be the key they were missing. "Initiating test sequence 47, announced his assistant, adjusting the quantum field generators. The crystalline structure they were attempting to grow began to form, its lattice perfect and promising, then shattered like all the others before it. Hyunwoo sighed, rubbing his tired eyes. Logged the results. Same outcome as previous attempts. The crystal forms but fails to achieve quantum coherence. Perhaps we should try a different approach, suggested one of his team members. The human liaisons mentioned something about perspective. As if summoned by those words, human liaison Jae-yun appeared in the laboratory. Not through the door. She simply shifted into existence, the air around her shimmering briefly with quantum possibilities. Still having trouble? She asked, smiling warmly at the startled scientists. Her presence had become a familiar sight in research facilities across the galaxy, though her method of arrival never ceased to amaze. Hyunwoo gestured at the failed crystal attempt. We've replicated the basic structure perfectly. The quantum mathematics checks out. But we can't achieve stable coherence. It's as if. He struggled to find the right words, as if the universe itself refuses to cooperate. Jae-yun walked to the containment field, studying the crystalline fragments. It's not about the technology, she explained gently. It's about perspective. Your civilization approached quantum mechanics from a position of control. We approached it as a partnership. She reached into the field, something that should have been impossible through the containment barriers, and touched a crystal fragment. It responded to her presence, beginning to rebuild itself. You're trying to force quantum particles to behave according to your rules, she continued. We learned to listen to theirs. The mathematics isn't a set of instructions. It's a conversation. Around the galaxy, similar scenes played out in countless research facilities. The most brilliant minds of 100 civilizations grappled with technology that seemed to defy their fundamental understanding of reality itself. Some resorted to espionage, attempting to steal human quantum crystals for study. But the crystals would simply dissolve into ordinary matter when removed from human presence. Others tried to hack human quantum networks, only to find there was nothing to hack. The network existed in a state of possibility until actively engaged by human consciousness. Watch, Jae-yun said, closing her eyes. The crystal in the containment field began to grow again, but differently this time. Instead of the rigid, mathematically perfect structure they have been trying to create, it formed in organic, flowing patterns. You see the quantum realm as something to be conquered and controlled, she explained. We see it as a dance partner. The mathematics describes the dance steps, but the music, she smiled, opening her eyes as the crystal pulsed with inner light. The music comes from understanding that reality itself is an ongoing conversation between possibility and observation. Hyunwoo watched in fascination as the crystal continued to grow and change. But how do you maintain coherence at macroscopic scales? The quantum noise alone should collapse the wave function. Jae-yun finished his thought. Only if you believe collapse is inevitable. We learn to appreciate the noise, to see it not as interference, but as part of the conversation. She gestured, and the crystal fractured into 1,000 pieces, each one perfectly coherent, all of them entangled in a complex dance of quantum possibilities. Your civilization spent millennia trying to eliminate quantum uncertainty, she said. We embraced it. The crystals aren't technology in your sense of the word. They're more like meditation partners. They help us listen to the quantum layer of reality that was always there, just waiting for someone to notice. Around them, the laboratory's instruments were recording everything, but the data made no sense according to conventional physics. The human approach to quantum mechanics wasn't just a new technology. It was a fundamentally different way of interacting with reality itself. Then how can we ever hope to replicate it? Hyunwoo asked, voicing the frustration felt by scientists across the galaxy. Jae-yun's smile widened. You can't, not the way you're trying to. But that's not the point. We're not here to give you our technology. We're here to help you find your own way of having the conversation. Every species will develop their own dialogue with quantum reality. That's the beauty of it. As she spoke, the crystal fragments began to sing, not with sound, but with quantum possibilities that resonated directly with the consciousness of everyone present. In that moment, Hyunwoo began to understand. The humans hadn't conquered quantum mechanics, they had befriended it. And that made all the difference. The Grand Assembly Hall of the Galactic Council shimmered with quantum light, its ancient architecture now seamlessly blended with human crystal technology. Representatives from 200 civilizations gathered for the historic 10th anniversary of what had become known as the Great Silence. The chamber, once a symbol of traditional power, now pulsed with the gentle rhythm of quantum possibilities. Council chairperson Da-hee stood at the central platform, her form partially merged with the quantum layer that now connected all advanced civilizations. 10 years had transformed her role from a political leader to something entirely new, a bridge between the old ways and the new understanding that humanity had brought to the galaxy. A decade ago, she began, her voice carrying not just through air, but through the quantum network itself. We witnessed what we thought was a tragedy. Earth, a world we had watched with such interest, went silent. We feared destruction, disaster, or worse. The assembled representatives shifted in their seats, many of them remembering that day with perfect clarity. The fear, the confusion, the desperate attempts to understand what had happened to the young civilization that had shown such promise. Instead, Da-hee continued, that silence became the loudest declaration in galactic history. It marked the moment when humanity showed us that the impossible was merely the improbable, waiting for a new perspective. Holograms appeared around the chamber, showing the transformation that had swept across the galaxy. Quantum crystal spires rose from 1,000 worlds, each unique to its civilization, but all connected through the new understanding humanity had shared. We thought we knew the rules of the universe, she said, gesturing to the images of old-style spacecraft and traditional technology. We had mapped the boundaries of possibility, charted the limits of what could be achieved. And then humanity simply stepped sideways. The display shifted to show the first human quantum ships, their crystalline forms still inspiring awe even after years of familiarity. They didn't break our rules. They showed us that the rules were just one way of looking at things. There were other conversations to be had with reality itself. Around the chamber, representatives nodded in understanding. Some had already begun their own quantum transformations, finding unique ways to interact with the underlying fabric of existence. Others still struggled with the concepts, but even they had been changed by the new possibilities humanity had revealed. The human gift to us wasn't technology, Da-hee explained, her form shimmering as she demonstrated the new ways of being that had become possible. It was perspective. They taught us to listen, not just to each other, but to the universe itself. The quantum network pulsed with shared memories. The first successful non-human quantum crystal growth, the beginning of interspecies quantum communication, the discovery that each civilization could develop its own unique relationship with the quantum layer of reality. In 10 years, she continued, we've achieved more than we had in the previous 1,000. Not through competition or conquest, but through cooperation and understanding. Humanity showed us that power doesn't come from controlling reality. It comes from dancing with it. The chamber filled with a soft quantum resonance as Da-hee accessed the deeper layers of the network. The day Earth went quiet wasn't an ending, it was a beginning. They taught us to listen to the spaces between words, to see the possibilities between moments, to find the music in the quantum foam itself. She paused, letting her consciousness expand through the network, touching minds across the galaxy. We stand now at the threshold of something greater than any single civilization could have achieved alone. The quantum age isn't just about new technology or new abilities. It's about a new way of being. The assembly hall transformed around them, its walls becoming transparent to reveal the galaxy itself, now alive with quantum connections binding worlds and species together in ways once thought impossible. The silence of Earth, Da-hee concluded, her voice carrying to every connected consciousness in the galaxy, taught us the most important lesson of all. Sometimes you have to stop talking to start hearing. Sometimes you have to embrace uncertainty to find new certainty. Sometimes the quietest moment contains the loudest truth. As she finished speaking, the quantum network pulsed once more, a harmonious chord of consciousness that spread across the stars. The day Earth went quiet had indeed become the day the universe learned to listen, and in that listening, found a whole new way to sing. In the decades that followed, humanity's gift continued to transform the galaxy, not through force or dominance, but through the simple act of showing others how to hear the music of reality itself. The impossible had become probable, and the probable had become just the beginning of what was possible when you learned to listen to the quiet spaces between the stars.